the thing that we have in common, thank you for doing this podcast. This is really, really exciting for me because we have something in common.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to, you're my senpai since I've known you 1991 or 2 or something.
Why don't you tell the story. Why don't you tell the story that you were going to tell me, that you were telling me on the way here, when we were walking over here? You told me a story. Is that you or me? It doesn't matter. But tell me the story that you were telling me how you first met me. Because I'm just curious. I'm just curious on how you met. Because I remember the first time I met you, I knew you.
Yeah.
Is when you had your daughters in my program.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
That's when I noticed.
Yeah, that's right.
You married. You came back at Nishimachi. You had the kids in the program.
Yeah.
And I saw we started talking. You said you were a gymnast, and then I looked up and I saw that you competed in 1988 against the Russians. Rock band. And you did all around. But the only thing they have on YouTube is you doing parallel bars.
Parallel bars and horizontal bar, yes.
They had you on,
Well, they didn't have video back then. It was the camera.
I know.
VHS.
That's right. But you were doing. You were doing it. You were knocking it out.
Yeah.
You did really well. So how did you place? Was that the only meet you had against?
No.
The Russians?
So in 1980, I think it was 4. I was junior national champion.
Okay.
And at that time, we had meets against Russia, Japan, China, and everything else. And by the 1987, I was in the World Championship trials, ranked number 3 in the country. Went to World Championships in Rotterdam, 1987. I remember that very distinctly because I think it was that day the Wall Street crash had happened on that weekend.
In 87, right?
And it was huge news. And I remember that was my first actually.
Overseas meet, right?
This is in Rotterdam.
That's right. That was your first overseas meet.
No. I've been since I was a junior in the junior national team. Okay. We would compete all around the world as juniors. Okay. But in terms of that particular year in 1987, that was my first World Championships.
Right.
And basically they had the Wall Street crash and then the huge headlines, and that's what everybody was talking about.
How old were you then?
I think it was I was 18. No, or 18 or 19. Yeah.
And you're going to the university? What university were you?
I had actually in 1984 got full scholarship to UC Berkeley.
UC Berkeley. Okay.
Yeah, and then because I couldn't handle both gymnastics and school because you had to study it like crazy. I was injuring myself, so I basically made a decision to drop out of college.
But you can still be on the team and be on the college, could you?
No.
You had to be in college to be on
the team. You had to be in college to be on the team. That's the scholarship.
Wait, hold on. So how long were you in college?
I was on the 7-year plan.
7-year plan. Okay, 7-year plan.
So
but how long were you on the team?
So I was on the UC Berkeley team for 2 years, from 1984 to 1986, and then I dropped out of college.
Wait, no, but you had that meet against the Russians in 88.
In 87. Oh, that was in 87.
Yeah. But this on YouTube it's 88. It says 88.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe it was early 88.
Okay.
So that was basically I dropped out of college from 84 to
87. So you did 3 years.
Yes, 2 years only.
2 years.
To 86, and then I dropped out so I can train for the Seoul Olympics in 1988. From 86 to 88.
Right.
And in 87, we had the World Championships, and then I guess later that year, we had the meet against the Russians. And then after that was the Seoul Olympics.
Okay. Wow, so do you come from a big family? Are you?
No, very interestingly, our family history is quite interesting because someone sent me an article. I had my grandfather in the article.
Okay. And
the article read, 46 Japs arrested by the FBI in Hopeville, California. And that was my grandfather. 1940, 3 or 4, something like that.
Right.
And I saw my grandfather's name. And so that's where I come from.
Let me ask you something. Did you know your grandfather?
I knew him just a little bit, but then he passed away right after. I was like 2 or 3 years old.
So you never really got to know him.
I never got to know him.
Do you have siblings?
Yes, I have 6 siblings.
And your number?
5 siblings, 6 kids. I'm number 3, right in the middle.
So how's it go? The oldest is a boy?
Girl, boy, me, girls, 3 boys.
Are you guys
pretty much.
close? Are you close?
Not really, because, well, they're close, but I'm the guy who has been traveling around the world and not really going home very much. So, we contact them. I see them once a year or twice a year. That's
Right.
it.
So because you're the second oldest brother, you have a brother older than you.
Yes.
Only one brother older than you and one sister older
Yes.
than you. Are any of them gymnasts outside of you?
No, actually, not. My brother and sister played tennis a little bit, but they never did it really competitive. I was the kid that was being slapped around because I couldn't stay still,
Okay,
and I had to move all the time, and I wouldn't shut up. And John, sit down. John, stop moving. John, stop tapping your finger. And so my mom made me go to gymnastics.
And you grew up where?
In Los Angeles, California.
Where in LA?
Well,
Because I'm from LA. I'm from LA as well.
Yeah.
So I'm close by the Crenshaw district.
Yes. This is where my grandmother and grandfather.
Because everyone, listen, the kids in my school, my first girlfriend was named Naomi in kindergarten. I didn't know anything other than I loved her pretty black hair. It was so straight and pretty, and the other girls used to tease me and be mean with me. She was quiet, and she was reserved like I was, and I used to walk from school with her and her grandmother and not know anything. I just knew I didn't understand what they were talking about. So obviously grandmother was speaking to her in Japanese.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't know. But they would let me walk with them because I lived a little bit further away than they did, and we'd have to split off. But I would walk with them, and they were really nice, they were really sweet. And I never forgot that. I was like her. I think I was nowhere in her mind, but that's the little girl I liked. Little Naomi. And I remember being in junior high school. We went to the same junior high school. We went to Vermont Avenues High School. Vermont Avenue School, elementary school. Then we went to Fort Shade Junior High School. And I was a hall monitor. And I remember being up on the 3rd floor looking down into the schoolyard and seeing Naomi and telling one of the other hall guards with me, that used to be the girl I was crazy about her when she was in kindergarten. But I wonder why she never grew. She stayed short.
Yeah.
And he said, most Japanese don't get that tall. And listen, John, that was the first time I realized she was Japanese. I never saw her as anything other than that little girl I really liked.
Yeah.
And it was just a mind blowing. So to cover up, because at that age you want to know, yes, of course. Yeah, I know. But I knew other kids that were Japanese, but she, in my mind, was not Japanese. I knew at that time ethnicity didn't really matter to me. I was learning about it, but that's not something I thought about her.
Yeah.
Not that I had any strong thought about it at all.
Yeah. So
tell me, where'd you grow up in LA?
Very interestingly, I didn't really realize I was Japanese. I grew up on Mulholland Drive in a Jewish neighborhood.
Okay, I know where Mulholland Drive is.
Okay,
yeah.
Right in 405 in Mulholland, right?
Okay.
And I went to more bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs than I did birthday parties.
Okay. So there weren't any other Asians in your, you were the only one?
I was the only Asian, basically.
What did your father do? What kind of work did your father and mother do?
So after the war, they went from being 0 to all of my father's brothers and sisters became doctors and PhDs.
And your father was?
He was a general practitioner.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, back to the war days, I just read the article. They had started out from 0, pure poverty, and just worked their way up. So, he became a doctor and a very successful doctor, especially in the Japanese community.
Is he still alive?
No, unfortunately, he passed away.
At what age? How old was he?
70.
My father was 72.
Really? It wasn't an easy life.
But my father's a lot older than your father, too. Different generation. Your grandfather would be the age of my father.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Don't forget my
No, what are you talking about? You're not that much older than I am.
I'm a lot older than
No,
you.
you're not.
How old are you, John?
57.
I'm 68.
Okay, that's not a lot older.
That's 10 years older. That's 11 years older. That's 11 years older than you. I was already almost out of elementary school. But anyway, but still, and it depends on how many kids my father had.
Yeah.
You have to remember that,
That's
too.
right, okay.
He had 2 families. I'm his second family. So my father died at 72, but he was born in 1919.
Okay.
So and he was in World War II.
And that was
Yeah, so go on. So you work from nothing, and all of your uncles and
and
aunts
aunts became
PhDs
PhDs,
or
doctors, or whatever. They didn't complain. They just worked their ass off.
Well, I mean, but come on, what are they going to say? See, it's interesting you're saying that, because don't forget, America sets up everyone to be very divisive.
Yeah.
They set us up to be that way, so no one focuses on the people that are making us that way. I'm talking, that includes white people who feel that they're being divided, who are still loving middle-class people, but they're taught that there's someone they're better than, even though they're not getting any more.
Yeah.
Right? And of course, blacks are supposed to be on the bottom of the run. But Asians have learned just to be quiet.
And work their ass off.
They don't want to be. They don't want to be known. They want to be quiet. When Black Rain came out, I remember they started picketing the Grumman Chinese Theater because they didn't want it to be shown. They didn't want anything to do with that.
Yeah. Oh,
because we no attention comes. And you know how many people have been hurt and damaged? They're starting to do shows about that because of our past administration in the U.S. Asians have had to stay in the house. Because nobody cared if they were Korean or Japanese or Filipino. If you looked Asian, you had a hassle if you lived in the United States anywhere.
Don't you remember Rodney King?
Rodney who?
Rodney King.
Yes, but that didn't affect you.
Well, did you see the guy who was getting beaten in the car? That was a Korean guy.
No, they didn't show that. But see, everyone was quiet. No one even knows that. I didn't know that.
They were beating up all the Asians in Los Angeles at that time. Anybody of color.
Everyone kept that silent.
They were burning the Korean stores.
Who was burning them?
The
black people?
Well, the protesters.
But not just because of Rodney King. That's because the Korean woman that shot that little girl in the back of the head when she was leaving. That's what started that. Koreans had their stores. They took over where the Jewish people used to be.
Yeah.
In the black areas, Jewish people used to own all of the commerce. They owned the liquor stores, they owned the hardware store, they owned everything.
Yeah.
And they'd hire at least a couple of black people to work for them, right? Because I remember I worked at a liquor store, Ed's liquor store.
In downtown LA.
Right in LA, right now. So when they moved out, they let the Koreans come in. Yeah. So Koreans came in, but Koreans wouldn't hire anyone but their family.
Oh, I didn't know that, yeah. Well, actually, that's the same in New York. Yeah.
And they'd been told that blacks are this way or that way, so it got really nasty.
Intense, yeah.
Oh, it was intense. And when that Korean woman shot this little girl in the back of her head, that was it. That's why they did that. But we're talking about police brutality, not race thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Asians have been pretty quiet. But you go back to your story.
Yeah. So
your father, you said your grandfather was in concentration camp. They came.
No. They came to his house and arrested him.
Okay, right.
For being a whatever it was, not non-American, but something about.
He wasn't white, that's for sure.
Well, anyway, so then he got thrown in prison, and their family all went to. They were shipped off to posts in Arizona.
Right, that's what they did.
And then my mom's family, my uncle was actually born in Santa Anita Racetrack horse stall.
Because that was all the concentration camps around.
Well, yeah, he was born in a horse stall.
Right.
And then shipped off to Roar, Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
And then so after the war, they got released. They lived in three families together in one house because they couldn't afford it. Mm-hmm. And then they all just worked and got it back.
Mm-hmm. Well, they got reparations too.
Yeah, in 1986 or 1988, something like it.
I'm not gonna. It's not TikTok. But black people have never gotten reparations. And they constantly we're still about. We like to say this: if you put the hierarchy in America, and you might be able to empathize with some of this, it's white, Asian, Hispanic, dogs, then black people. No, because if you did what they're doing to black people to a dog, the world would go ballistic. But it's okay to see my people taken out, and you can see the bullets ricocheting off the ground, and people think he had to be the problem.
Yeah.
And I don't like the fact that people think that there's the Democrats are for us or the Republicans. Listen, no. Anytime any group of people are willing to show that over and over and over, how can I say that for me if they keep on showing me in the weakest position? No, I don't go for that. That's why I enjoy being here.
Yeah.
Back to you.
So I mean, I'm trying to kind of focus on the Olympics.
That's right. But still, but past the Olympics, but going through that, I want to hear more about your family. So they did that, they worked hard. So how did your parents raise you? 7 kids, 7 of you.
Six kids.
Of you.
Yeah.
6 of you.
Yeah, it was nuts.
Your mother stayed home. Her full-time job was taking care of the 6
kids.
of you.
Yeah. And it was a interesting household, never quiet.
Wow.
And so we grew up actually in a middle class to upper class neighborhood because my dad was a doctor.
Right. And you said you went to more bar mitzvahs than you did anything else.
Yeah.
Than you did. But so when did you realize that you weren't Jewish?
When I guess I got into high school and moved out of California to train, and also as going around the world, you know.
When did it like hit you? You went like, when did you have that moment when you said, "Wait just a minute"? And when did that happen?
Probably.
And how old were you?
Actually, I don't remember when it happened.
Okay.
All I remember, well, you know what? I didn't focus on that.
Okay.
And the reason why I never focused on that is because when I was 15 years old, I moved away from home, and I just wanted to make the Olympics. That's all I cared about.
Okay.
By the time I was 15, I lived with 3 other guys in a condominium, and we would get up at 5 a.m. We would be in the gym by 5:45, 6. We would strength train 6 to 7:38.
This is in LA.
No, I moved to Arizona.
You moved to Arizona
when I was 15, away from my family.
And they were supporting you.
My dad was helping to support me.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. And yeah, we lived there, and I was training full time and going to school.
Mm-hmm. So he was behind you in your efforts to go ahead and.
Well, so on the other hand, I was also getting in trouble.
Okay.
We would ride our motorcycles in
Who didn't?
the Mulholland Hills, and then the helicopters would come, and then the police cars would come, and we'd be running with them.
Go for your own.
So, anyways, then I kind of got into like gang-related stuff.
Did you really?
Yeah. And that wasn't in racing on Mulholland Drive.
But what kind of gang? You had to be in an Asian gang then.
No.
It was a white gang?
Yeah.
What was the name of the gang?
It wasn't a gang per se. It was just
bad kids.
Kids going around, racing around Mulholland, and not doing some funny things.
Okay.
And so they saw that path that I was going on, and so my mom forced me to go to gymnastics.
Okay.
And then that's where I found my first my coach, Malcolm Stanislaus. Do you remember Malcolm? Cal State University, Northridge?
No, but he must have been good.
Oh no, he was he was one of the first black gymnasts to make it to the national NCAA. Malcolm Stanislaus.
Stocky, kind of.
No,
short.
he's almost 6 foot. He's very tall.
I knew Kanadi Allen.
Okay.
I didn't know him, but that's who I
okay.
modeled after. Because he was the first gymnast to go up there and become notable as a black gymnast.
So,
Kanadi
but
Allen.
anyways, so he turned me on, and I just took all of my energy and I focused it into gymnastics. And then I moved out of the house when I was 15, and my dad helped to support me.
So you started gymnastics at 15?
Or around 12.
I was 15 when I started.
Okay.
In high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, 12.
So that's a little bit late.
It is late. Tell me about it. But then I'm injured. I don't have as many injuries as you get either. The earlier you start.
Yeah.
Because you have a little more sense. You have a little bit more sense.
To understand, yeah.
I was crazy, but my height a little bit, and just have taken some falls on my bike. I used to be a dirt rider, so I knew how.
No
far
fear.
And I didn't have a great coach anyway. If I had a good coach, he might have pushed me further. Go on.
So then I moved out, and then we trained. It was, and that's where I started understanding how to be disciplined. Again, waking up at 5, getting in the gym 5:45, 6 a.m., strength training till 7:38, going to school from 9 to 2 or 3, and then going back to the gym from 3 to 7.
You improved your grades too, didn't you?
And then also getting to study from 7 to 10 at night.
Yeah.
And my grades just went like this.
Because you had to stay, in my school you had to be at least a C average to stay in gymnastics.
Yes.
That was our
If
thing.
we had anything below a C,
Same with
you're
us,
done.
same with us, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So-
the only thing that worked for me.
And we would do anything if C wouldn't happen.
I know.
It's not even a
It's
question
irrelevant.
because
you wouldn't be able to
yeah.
meet, you
Yeah.
couldn't, that was your group.
Exactly.
But listen, by the time you got into gymnastics, when I was in gymnastics, it was just starting to become a sport where people were recognizing it.
Yes.
Because girls' gymnastics wasn't even heard of.
Yes.
If girls did a cartwheel on the beam, they would, and they do a cartwheel, round off.
Yes.
That would be it.
Yeah.
In men's gymnastics, they said in LA, either you're gay or you ride motorcycles. Well, I rode motorcycles, and so did you. Gymnastics, ours came into play when we competed against the football team, a strength contest.
Yes.
We said no weights are involved, only your body.
Yeah.
We tore them apart. And then we started getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And bigger.
Yeah.
And then I did back handsprings from one end of the football field to the other. And that blew everyone away, and then I became a master. Anyway, that's another thing.
Yeah, that was
Yeah. And they were scared to do anything. They couldn't do a standstill back.
handstand.
None of it. And they're supposed to be the big jocks. So we started getting, recognition
Yes.
until, we weren't there when Olga Corbett came back out, but when she came out, all the men's gymnastics just seemed to disappear.
Yeah.
Because everyone,
And then you get
all the little girls.
Corbett's, the Nadia
Then
Comaneci.
it's done. It was done. Men's were done. Nobody even looks at men. So, there's men's gymnastics. We thought that was only for girls. Keep on.
So then I graduated from high school, got a full scholarship to UC Berkeley, and because I was at that age, 18 or 20, something like that, basically I still had my hopes on the Olympics, but I couldn't juggle properly the schooling, the studying, as well as the gymnastics, and I kept getting hurt and wasn't practicing properly, et cetera, et cetera. So I actually kind of did the unthinkable at that time. I dropped out of college.
So how did that affect you? I mean, what happened after that? How'd your dad take that?
Well, no one was really too happy about that,
I don't think so.
right?
Yeah.
I've done all this.
And they
we spent all this
invested all
money.
that money.
You're
Yes.
getting a full scholarship to Berkeley, and you're dropping out of college?
So they went ballistic, didn't they?
Oh my God.
So you couldn't go home? Did you go home?
No, I actually went back to Arizona and to train again. But of course, my coaches said, "Yeah, let's do it." And the reason why we made that decision is because, and my father did understand because and this goes to anybody. When you think about the value of life, it's not about how much money you have. In terms of what's the value of money, it's time. Because you're only 20 one time in your life. If you're a millionaire and you lose your $1 million, you can get
that
back.
again. But
you're going to be 20 again. So that's the decision we made. And my father, he supported it because he funded it.
So when you're saying we, you're talking about son and father.
Son and
Okay.
father. But everybody else is, oh my God.
They said, how dare you? Yes.
So then I went for it. I got on the 87 World Championship team. 3 months prior to the 88 Olympic trials, I injured my ankle. I went to the Olympic trials and looked at my strength trainer and coach and said, well, this is your floor routine. I hope you're walking after it. Because I didn't know whether my ankle would hold out or not. And so it went okay, but it wasn't at that level. So the 88 Olympic trials was just not my day. So I didn't make it.
What was your hardest skill on floor?
It was a full in at that time.
Full in?
Yeah. So, but anyways, I got through it okay, but it was not good. It was just getting through it.
Did you limp off or something? Or?
Yeah, I mean, it was painful, but you have to do it.
Yeah.
Because you sacrificed 2 years, you dropped out of school, you gave up your Christmases, your New Year's, your birthday parties, all the other activities so you can train for that day. And
But that 1 minute 30 seconds of glory, yeah.
And in that 1 minute 30 seconds of glory, I didn't know whether I was going to walk away off the floor. So, anyways, it didn't happen. I was done, and UC Berkeley very, very graciously and kindly said, "Yeah, come on back." And so I went back to Berkeley, and I coached the team, and I graduated with a degree in economics and political science.
Okay.
So
that's good. That's good.
That's why, these days.
That's why you said 7 years.
Well, that was a 7-year plan.
You did it. That made your father happy. I mean, I'm sure they felt good about
Well,
that.
yeah, I had to do it because he financed me, and
he sounded like a good man. He was a
hard worker. He was hard.
Good, yeah.
He was a hard man. But
But
to go from poverty to being a general practitioner and being Japanese is
well, that's what
at
they
that
call it
time
in America, right? That's how they talk.
was very
Is
sorry.
that you? That's okay. You can turn it off. Whatever. We can edit that thing.
That's Suji Tsurumi,
Suji Tsunami.
1964
Oh,
Olympic.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, anyways, then from there, graduated, and my entire career of gymnastics was, as an amateur athlete, you didn't get any money.
Right.
So
No, gymnastics never paid. You had to come with money.
Our meals was you can buy ramen, right?
Mm-hmm.
5 for $1.
Right.
So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you just put in different vegetables.
To spice up a little bit.
Yeah, change the flavor.
We should have that one meal.
So I wasn't really too keen to that sort of lifestyle, and I basically said, okay, well, I'd like to try to go into finance because I studied economics.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I sold my car in 1988. In 1990, when I graduated, I basically thanked my father for everything, and my family and friends for all their support. Sold my car. I had $3,000 in my pocket that I sold everything, and I bought a one-way ticket to Tokyo.
What made you decide to do that?
Because Tokyo was in a bubble.
That's right.
Right? And that's
1980, what?
1990.
1990.
It was the peak of the bubble.
That's right. It was just about to burst.
Yeah, it was just about to burst. Okay, so I bought a one-way ticket to Tokyo. I took Japanese 101 in my senior year of college because I decided that's the way I was going to go. And did a 3-month intensive beginner's Japanese language course in Gifu.
I know Gifu.
Yeah, very, very far away. And then did that, moved to Tokyo, lived on a friend's couch, and then was an English teacher for a little while, and then got picked up by a really interesting guy at a place called Chemical Bank.
Okay.
He liked my attitude. He liked my work ethic because I was working with him on a separate project, and he hired me onto his trading team.
Mm-hmm.
And once I was on that trading floor, I said, "This is where I'm going to be."
You liked it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then from there, I was learning how to be a trader, a bond trader, credit trader at the time. And then that was the start of my career in finance.
Mm-hmm.
And then I moved to New York. I met a guy in my karate class in the Upper West Side, New York City.
Wait. Okay, so you just jumped into karate all of a sudden.
Yeah, well, what was the Chinese theater in
Gourmet Chinese theater.
Gourmet Chinese?
Yeah.
That's where I saw Bruce Lee fighting
Enter the Dragon. Return of the Dragon?
Enter the Dragon.
Enter the Dragon, okay.
And I said,
That was
and then in addition to that, remember in Crenshaw,
Right,
the Kokusai Theater,
That's
okay,
right.
Yojimbo,
That's right.
Zatoichi,
That's right.
and all the samurai
That's
films
right.
that my grandfather,
That's right.
my
That's right.
father
You could always
said.
see it, yeah.
So always in the back of my mind,
But, no. What Enter the Dragon, I'll tell you the part that made you decide to do it. When he was the beginning of it and he was in the ring, and when the guy looked down like this, and when he left, he did a round off, back handspring, back.
Yeah.
And that's what he said, I'm gonna do some martial arts. I got to learn.
So
am I right?
In addition to that, my father used to take us to the Kokusai Theater in Crenshaw. Okay, and we used to go watch all the samurai movies.
Right.
And
there.
so I've always had it in the back of my mind,
Right.
martial arts.
Okay.
And so, I was done with gymnastics. I was in the Upper West Side in New York City, and I came across my first karate class, and actually it was a black gentleman called William Oliver.
Okay.
And if you look him up, he is and he's one of the top karate cause in America at that time, and actually came to Japan to compete as well. He became my senpai.
How long did you do karate?
So I got up to my second dan.
Okay,
Nidan, and but I lived in New York City, fulfilled my dream of getting my black belt. Everybody wants to get a black belt.
Right, of course. So you did that in New York City?
And I did that in New York City while I was working on Wall Street.
Okay.
And on the weekends.
So on the weekends you go.
But it was great stress relief as well.
I can imagine.
Yeah. So
because the floor can be really intense.
It kept me kept me kind of balanced, if you will.
Right.
And then I got to get my black belt.
Right. So how old were you? Do you remember how old you were when you got your black belt?
Probably around 30 something.
And still single?
At the time I was married, yes.
When did you get married? How old were you?
1993.
So how old were you when you got married?
26 or so.
So you had kids already then?
No.
No, you didn't have kids.
I didn't have kids till.
So you got married when you were 20 what? How old were you?
1993.
1993. You should know how old you were when you got married. Come on.
27.
27. So then you guys waited until you were, how old were you had your first child?
1999.
And how old were you then?
So I was 34, 35.
34, yeah, that's all when I had my first kid. But you guys have been married for that time.
Yeah. Well, again, I was the lowest man on the totem pole
in working your way
in
up,
Wall Street. And in Wall Street, basically, the first thing you say is, John, I'm so glad you're an athlete. You know how to work hard, you've got discipline, and when we fire you, you're not going to take it personally. Dead serious.
This was.
Right, so that was my interview on Wall Street. That was my beginning.
When we fire you, you'll recover. You'll recover.
You'll recover, you'll be fine.
Okay.
True story.
So how'd you take that? How'd you take it? What'd you do?
I just...
You stayed serious.
That was serious, right? But then you get on the trading floor, and some people last 3 months.
Some people some people last 2 weeks. Yeah.
The average is probably 4, 5, 6 years until you get burnt out and finished.
But I thought in order to be on the floor, you have to be a millionaire. You have to have $1 million.
No.
Wait. You're talking about the New York
Not the New York Stock Exchange.
The American Stock Exchange.
No. I was on a brokerage floor.
Brokerage floor,
yes.
That's different. Because to be on the New York Stock Exchange, I know you must be worth $1 million. Okay.
So basically, I was on a brokerage called, at the time, CS First Boston. Okay. And that's where I started my career, and that's where I met Michael Clark, one of the greatest traders, and a very variety of characters.
Okay. Did you ever meet Mike Milken?
No. I read about him.
He's famous.
Yes, he's very famous.
Den of Wolves. Because he's the one that financed Reginald Lewis, Beatrice Foods, and I think that's why he ended up going to jail.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with the junk bonds. If you read his book.
Yeah.
So you did that. So how long were you in finance?
I lasted on a trading floor for 29 years.
So they never fired you. So the guy that said he was going to fire you went off. You got fired.
Well, no, but yeah. I mean, basically. So on a trading floor, basically, it's a battle every day, right? Every day is a competition. But that's the way I trained.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay. So I was bred to be a competitor, and our motto was, every day is a competition, and every competition is every day, so you don't have to worry about anything. No nervousness.
There you go.
And that's the way we trained. Every day was competition. We went to the competition, and it's just like every day you guys go out and do your job.
Right.
There was no, oh my gosh. No, I gotta do my job.
Yeah.
So that actually carried over very nicely to the training floor,
Right.
as every day was competition. I was in the office by 4:30, 5 a.m., out by 6, 7, and that's the way I started my career.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is neat. That's neat. So then you did that. So you eventually, so you 29 years you were on the floor.
Yeah. So then I started out at the very low. I got coffee and
Right. Of course, you had to do all the grunt work.
and I was grunting. It was very good because my coach, my original gymnastics coach, he was Japanese.
Okay.
Issei.
All right.
Old school. And he was in the mentality of basics, right?
Okay.
So just like a sushi chef, right? He'll wash dishes for 5 years and not even touch a grain of rice
Right.
for 5 years until he can be perfect at washing the dishes.
Mm-hmm.
Because unless you're perfect at washing the dishes, how are you going to be perfect at making sushi?
Right. There you go.
So our philosophy of gymnastics was, if your basics weren't perfect,
Mm-hmm.
then you're not going to make the next step. Or you can try to make the next step, but consistency
Right.
will be not inconsistent.
Right. Right.
So on our team in the country, we had the best basics in the country.
Mm-hmm.
So that was where I was bred. And when you go out on the training floor, it's just about discipline and going and going and going and not making a mistake.
Right.
And so I kind of was bred into that, which is made it a little bit easier
for you.
Yeah.
And you watched a lot of people go to the sideline.
Yeah. It's
A lot of people. Did you find yourself trying to be the booster and encourage them to go a little bit further, but they just didn't have it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of mentality. You see a lot of athletes
Mm-hmm.
on the training floor. It's the mentality that you're either trained for it or you just get thrown to the wayside.
Mm-hmm.
And it's survival. You don't have much time to. I mean, obviously your team will be helpful, but it was back then quite a competitive environment.
So what do you do now? You finished that. You're out of finance. Are you still in finance?
No. I'm done with finance,
Okay.
and I've started my own company called Asami Global after my second daughter. And Asami Global is contracted with the United States Olympic Committee. Basically, my life is going full circle here.
Mm-hmm.
I started out in gymnastics, and after I retired, one of my buddies, a guy named Ron Brandt, Ron became the men's Olympic coach for about three Olympics
Mm-hmm.
for gymnastics, and then he moved on to the Olympic Committee. And in 2017, a year after they announced the Olympics in Tokyo, I was at the beach, kind of surfing and just trying to unstress, unwind. And he called me up. He said, "Hey, John, we're coming." He said, Ron, I haven't talked to you for 33 years. What is going on?" And he said, "John, we're coming." I said, "Who's coming?" "The Olympic Committee." And so, "You gotta help us out." And so basically, I said, "Well, let me check my surf schedule and see what I got going on." He said, "Okay, yeah, I'll pick you up at the airport." So I go to the airport, pick up 18 Olympic Committee members, showed them around Tokyo a little bit, where to get vegan food and gluten-free pasta, whatever. And then
Was this 2017?
This is 2017.
17,
yeah,
okay.
July to June.
Okay.
And then by 2000, when they were on the bus going home, they said, "John, we need your help." And by 2018, because I couldn't become an employee of the U.S. Olympic Committee in Japan, for whatever, all the different reasons, I created my own company and just made a contract within a month. And I didn't have a name for the company. I had no idea what I was doing, but I just said Asami, because I haven't seen my daughter for over a year, and Asami Global. And I cleared it with Miyuki, my older daughter, and so there was family consensus on that.
Okay. You gotta get that.
And from there, what happens is if there's a sports federation that hasn't really been to Japan, doesn't know Japan. They kind of, the U.S. Olympic Committee in the U.S. puts me in contact with them, and they call me, and I say, this is Tokyo, this is Japan, and this is where Narita is. It's that basic. That's from the beginning, and then I basically go in and I help them to find their facilities. If they come to train, and everybody's doing this in 2018, 2 years. They've been trying to prepare 3 years before the Olympics. This is how much preparation goes in for the Olympics, in terms of hotels and logistics and food. Right? They want to know, if I'm going from the athletes' village to the venue for the competition, how many minutes and seconds does it take? That's how granular they get.
Right. Plan every second they're here.
Well, for breakfast, we need to get the yogurt. Oh yeah, we got plenty of yogurt. No, we can't have that yogurt. We need this yogurt because the protein is a short-term protein versus a long-term protein. We can't have the short-term protein. We need the long-term protein. So we go down to the yogurt that they're having for breakfast, on which it is and which type of proteins the yogurts have. This is 2 years before the Olympics. And this is how much planning is going in the Olympics.
And you're taking care of all of that.
And for rugby, gymnastics, surfing, climbing, and now judo, karate, skateboarding, probably artistic gymnastics, I will be helping them out. Well, I have been helping them in terms of their preparations.
You're the go-to guy for that.
Yeah.
For the U.S.
Only for the U.S.
Only for the U.S.
And so basically what I have done is, with my finance background, read up on the Japanese economic policy of sports economy and growing the sports economy across Japan using the Olympics as a catalyst, which is the host town program. And basically the host town program is the city is the sponsor for the team when they come before their competition. So if they become a host town, what happens is the city picks them up at the airport, takes them to the host town, feeds them, trains them, prepares them for the competition, and then they move on to their competition. And that's all financed by Japan, very, very nicely.
Wait, do they only do that for the U.S. teams?
No, they do it for all countries.
Teams. So is that normal? Do you know if this is normal for all the Olympics? So whatever hosting country is doing it.
This is the first time ever
that they've done that.
Yes, this Japan is the first time ever that they.
And they're hosting every single country's.
Well, they're not every single country. It's the countries that they partner with.
Oh, they partner with.
Yes.
That each. For example, Gifu.
Yes.
Could be a host city.
Well, Gifu Ken, the host city of Nakatsugawa.
Kugawa, that area is.
Nakatsugawa.
Right?
They are hosting the USA wrestling team.
Oh, they are. Okay.
Yes. So the USA wrestling team goes there to train. Last year.
Kagawa, so they go to Gifu. Gifu's a major city there, right? So Kagawa, that's one of them.
Nakatsugawa.
Kagawa,
Right?
yeah.
So they'll go there.
Right.
For the Olympics, they will go there. Nakatsugawa will pick them up at Narita, take them to Nakatsugawa.
Right.
They will train, acclimate, adjust, rehabilitate, recuperate, get ready for the games.
And then have their game.
And then when it's game time, they move right to the
arena where the sun is, yeah.
And again, as you know, in competition, it's about the seconds. It's about the flash. It's about a reaction that takes you from the loser to the winner.
That's right.
Because it's not about training at the time. It's about
and
just adjusting and getting your rhythm. Adjusting, getting your rhythm. Because when you go to compete, you see every single athlete, right? What do?
Trying to get their heads right, yeah.
They get their breathing. Because the breathing starts the pattern of rhythm. And the rhythm is what they do to compete. And that's at the level, right? And if their breathing is off, then their rhythm will be off, right? So that's what they do at the training camp.
Trying to get themselves just right in the zone.
That's right. Into the zone, exactly.
That's right.
So that basically is what has become my main job, is to hook up the sports federations with the host cities so that they have a place to acclimate.
But you're trying to keep it within the Kanto Plains? Because if it's too far, well,
No,
it doesn't
no.
really matter. They can go to Hokkaido.
Yeah, they can go to Hokkaido.
I mean, no, but if they're, let's say it's not a ski sport. I mean, well, that's the
No.
Olympics.
If they have a nice gymnasium,
It doesn't matter.
it doesn't
They
matter
wanna do it.
because it's mainly the time change,
Okay.
right?
They already got that. That
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
And then the climate.
Mhm.
And it's not as hot as in Hokkaido as Tokyo, but it's still hot and humid.
That's true. Yeah.
And so it's all about the transportation. And it depends on the sport, right? So it's a 4-hour train ride to Nakatsugawa in Gifu, 4 hours,
Right.
but they don't mind because they just want to be as far away as from everything and
Right,
everybody,
right.
as everybody, so they can concentrate.
Yeah.
Whereas, other sports want to be a little bit closer to Tokyo.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you can go down all the way to Okinawa. Fencing is going to be Okinawa.
I was just thinking of that.
USA Rugby, I created the host town in Okayama.
Okay.
The surfers will go down to Shizuoka.
She's okay.
I'm right now working on USA Judo, Karate, and skateboarding in Ibaraki.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so no, it doesn't have to be close. And again, it's not about how close it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the facilities and the environment for the athletes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Can they get the things necessary to help them focus and do the things they want to do? Get the proper
Exactly.
yogurt there. Can they get all the things they need?
If there's no yogurt, we have to go to Costco. And where's
Right.
Costco? It's a 2-hour
Right,
drive.
right.
Okay, so we go to Costco, get the thing. And why is that? It's because the importance of the competition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. So when you did your competition, because when I watched YouTube and saw you on the even parallel bars, and I saw the Russian team you were going against, how was that for you? What did you do to keep yourself not just breathe? I mean, you had other stuff that's going on. I know the breathing's important, but there's other things going on in your head, especially those two top Russians.
Yeah. Again, back to my previous statement of every day is a competition and every competition is every day. It was just decided.
Mm-hmm.
You have your schedule, you have your routine, you have your job, basically, to go out and execute. What happens outside doesn't matter for that time, and so you don't let anything impact you. So that's why, even in today's Olympics, right? Even though they can't go to their facilities, they'll say, okay, what is it that we can do? How do we make this happen? Right? Rather than worry about this guy, worry about that guy, worry about this thing, worry about Corona or the COVID, right? It's worried about, okay, we're in this situation, what do we need to do to succeed?
Are we going to have the Olympics this year?
I have no idea.
But are you going for? From what you have to do and what's being brought to you, just your feeling? Do you think it's going to happen?
I have no idea.
Even with that, but when you do it, are they having you?
In December, I was 100% certain.
I know you told me.
In January, I'm less certain, and today I'm even less certain.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Based upon the kind of information you're receiving.
Well, I mean,
it's just you're being.
I don't know. So I don't know. So I don't focus on it, and it's out of control. We just make sure that we have the right yogurt with the right proteins in it. If they do come. And so we have plan A, plan B, plan C, and then finally plan D. Depending on how the entry visas work.
That's right.
14-day period.
How many vaccinations go and
we don't even know any of that. So we can't.
Because they're talking about. See, my wife's a doctor.
Yeah.
And she's telling me that they're going to do the vaccination starting next month in March.
Yeah.
Am I right? Well, that's what she said. She said they're going to start in March. And they hope to finish the first series with everyone in Japan by June. That's Olympic time. And then she said they're going to start the next series in July.
I got to get the right yogurt with the right protein.
Regardless of what happens with the vaccination.
Okay. So, again, sorry I don't have any information.
Any inside information?
I don't have any insight.
Wow.
Well, I don't think anybody has any insight.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we just focus on our job.
Right.
And how we best do our job in the current situation with the current restrictions. That's
Do you have a team working with you, or is it just yourself?
Right now, I do have a team,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not an official team. It's just like personalities
Mm-hmm.
that are into sports, that love sports, and they are working with, because I'm only going to be able to be with one team during the Olympics,
Mm-hmm.
I have to prepare that team for all the other sports teams during the Olympic pre-Olympic training period.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, listen, John, thank you for this interview because it's been fantastic. I mean, talking to you about the Olympics, you got me really into it. That's for sure. Anything else you want to tell me that you haven't told me about the Olympics that might be juicier?
Well, everybody asks me, what about the athletes?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll go back to my point. They're not worrying about vaccines. They're not worrying about this or that.
They're working out.
They have problems every day.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's their spouse, whether it's their school grades, whether it's somebody doing something in their family and financial troubles, they have problems every single day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but what they do is they figure it out. They get through it as best they can, and then they continue to progress for their peak performance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, COVID-19 is just another pain in the butt they need to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Does it change their attitude towards sports, towards competition? No. Do they not want to do it? Well, for your business. Oh, yeah. Sorry, but Mr. Lee, but we're going to cancel your main event just because of a pandemic, right? Is it going to disappoint you? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Is it going to make you upset? Yes, but are you going to quit your business?
Good point.
No.
Good point.
You're just going to work your ass off more
For when it does?
for when it does come back,
When it comes back,
right? So that's the response I usually give.
Okay, that's what's happening with all the athletes. You find
Well, the athletes that I deal with.
because what I do, I have on the social media, I keep up with all the gymnasts.
Yeah.
Just watching it. They're practicing. They're pulling.
They're practicing in their living room,
They're
in
going
their
everywhere,
garage.
every
Yeah.
place they can. They're going, and the colleges are no joke. These people are right on top of
Yeah.
it. So they're going for it as if it's going to happen.
And so I hope it happens.
So do I. So do I. Because if it doesn't, it isn't.
Yeah. And if it doesn't, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Okay. That's just part of the cards that are dealt.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to do about it?
Right.
And they're just going to
That's right.
keep moving on.
Well, thank you, John. I want to thank you for doing this podcast. Couldn't think of anyone else who I'd rather do this gymnastics podcast with. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Senpai. Gymnastics Senpai, Life Senpai.
Yeah, no, I'm going through a lot together. That's for sure. All right. I'm going to be talking to all of you soon. I've got to try to decide how I want to start doing these podcasts. If I tell you to subscribe or say like or whatever to podcasts you see like this, because the more people that like it, the more I know what you like. Or leave a comment. Tell me what you like on the podcast. Tell me what you liked about what you just heard. And if you do that, it makes everyone's life a lot easier. Thank you, and don't forget to press subscribe.
Did you want me to do the handstand?
Let's do that. I'll put that in here. I can put that behind some of the stuff you're saying. That's easy. That's good. Let me pull this over. You can't play it.
Wait, hold on. What time is it?
It's only by 10:30.
Yeah, hold on.
Till
Let
10:30.
me just check my schedule. What am I supposed to be doing? I have 11. I'm good.
You should be eating with me at 11. What are you talking about?
I'm sorry.
Wait a minute. Let me get this camera.
I need to take a rain check.
Let me get this camera so I have you. Okay. Let me put it on the other one. Pulls it out some. John's about to do a handstand. All right.
Which way I should do it? Is it okay like that?
I'm good. There we go. Looking good. My man.
Still good.
That's good. All right. That's what I'm talking about.